Most people think a comeback is a weapon, a way to win, dominate, and make the other person regret opening their mouth. But here's the problem. The moment you answer with anger, you didn't win the argument. You surrendered your nervous system because now they're driving. They press a button and you react on command. And that's not strength. That's remote control. Stoics played a different game. They didn't aim to defeat people. They aimed to remain undefeated by chaos. Real power isn't louder words. It's the calm that makes the other person's storm look childish. So if you've ever been disrespected by a coworker, baited by a stranger, or stabbed by a family member who knows exactly which nerve to hit, this is for you. In the next minutes, you'll get 5 smart phrases, 5 stoic comebacks that disarm anyone, without insults, without yelling, and without begging to be understood. One of them is so simple it feels harmless, until you see what it does to a fragile ego in real time. Let's start with the mistake that makes good people lose control. Most of our anger doesn't come from what was said. It comes from what it means. The insult threatens your image, the tone feels like a verdict, and your ego panics because it believes respect is something you must win back immediately. But Epictetus warned us about this trap. He taught that we don't suffer from events themselves, but from our judgments about them. Someone's words are just air and sound until you crown them with authority. The moment you decide this must be answered, you've already handed over your peace. Marcus Aurelius wrote about building an inner citadel, a place inside you no one can invade without permission. That's the real goal here. Not to silence everyone, not to control other people's moods, to protect your own mind. And when you understand that, you stop looking for the perfect clapback. You start using calm as a strategy. These 5 phrases work because they do one thing. They refuse to play the role the aggressor assigned you. They remove the fuel, they shift the frame, and they keep you standing tall without becoming cruel. Phrase 1. Are you okay? Most people hear an insult and think, I'm under attack, I have to fight back. But secure, happy people don't go around tearing others down. Cruelty is often just pain leaking outward. So when someone attacks you, you don't meet them with heat. You meet them with clarity. You look at them calmly and ask, are you okay? Not as sarcasm, not as a joke, as a genuine check-in. That single question flips the dynamic. They expected opponent versus opponent. You just turned it into observer versus emotional breakdown. You're basically saying, this reaction is so unstable, it warrants a wellness check. And here's why it's disarming. It forces them to look at themselves. Instead of you scrambling to defend your worth, they're suddenly confronted with their own state. It's a mirror, and fragile egos hate mirrors. Seneca wrote that people who lash out are often already suffering. When you respond like this, you refuse to be offended. You prove their words can't reach you. And nothing dismantles an aggressor faster than realizing they're not feared, they're being studied. Phrase 2. Anyway. We're trained to believe silence is weakness, but in social power dynamics, silence is pressure. When someone insults you, there's a hidden desperation underneath it. They threw a spear, and they're waiting for the impact. They want your face to change. They want your voice to rise. They want proof they can move you. So, give them the void. When they finish, don't respond right away. Look at them. Keep your posture relaxed. Let 3 or 4 seconds pass. That gap is torture for people who feed on reaction. Humans hate social vacuums. Their mind starts racing. Did I go too far? Did he even hear me? Why isn't he reacting? Then you break the silence with one word. Anyway. And you return to what you were doing. The silence says, I'm processing your behavior. The anyway says, and it didn't matter. You treat their outburst like a passing car alarm, loud, annoying, irrelevant. Here's the key. You don't rush to defend yourself because you don't need your value confirmed in real time. The wise are comfortable in the void. And when you step over the insult and move on, you leave them alone with their anger. And that is a lonely place to be. Phrase 3. You're allowed to think that. Arguments drain you because they're often a hunt for validation. You want the other person to agree so you can feel safe, but that's a trap because you can't control other people's opinions. This is the core of Stoicism, the dichotomy of control. You control your choices, your character, your response. You do not control someone else's judgment. So when someone labels you, misreads you, or insists they're right about you, you say, "You're allowed to think that." That sentence is radical acceptance. It's the verbal equivalent of dropping the rope in tug of war. They're pulling hard, ready to drag you into a fight, and suddenly there's no tension to grab. You're not conceding, you're elevating. You're saying your opinion is not a fact, it's not a verdict, it's just a thought in your mind. One, and you're free to keep it. This is how you become untouchable. Your self-image becomes internal, not outsourced. If you want more of this kind of calm power every day, subscribe to Stoic Spring, because your life improves when you build the habit of protecting your inner peace and growing in maturity one video at a time. Phrase 4. Did you mean to be that rude, or did it come out wrong? Stoicism isn't being passive, it's being precise. Sometimes you do need to confront disrespect, but you do it without becoming the monster you're dealing with. This phrase is a surgical strike against bad behavior. When someone is rude, they're often on autopilot, stressed, insecure, impulsive. They're emoting, not thinking. So you calmly ask, "Did you mean to be that rude, or did it come out wrong?" Notice the structure. You give them two choices. Option A, they admit they intended to be cruel. Most people won't do that publicly because it makes them look small. Option B, they admit they messed up and now have to correct themselves. Either way, you force them to engage their higher mind. You drag them out of the emotional swamp and into accountability. And you do it without insults. You're not attacking their character, you're naming the behavior. You're basically saying, "I saw that. Do you want to own it?" This shifts you into the role of calm adult in the room, and when you hold that frame, their disrespect collapses under its own weight. Phrase 5. I'm not the audience for this. Anger is often a performance, like a tantrum. It needs an audience. Adults do the same thing. When someone tries to drag you into a fight, they're recruiting you into their drama. They want you to play a role. Victim, villain, fellow screamer. The ultimate Stoic move is to refuse the role. You say, "I'm not the audience for this." It's final, it's clean. It implies their outburst is a show, and you didn't buy a ticket. You're not saying they're wrong. You're saying this frequency is beneath you. And this is what boundaries look like without shouting. Stoicism is about protecting your inner fortress. If someone is throwing garbage at the gates of your mind, you don't have to stand there and catch it. You can close the gate. You can walk away, not as a victim running from conflict, as a person who prioritizes peace over chaos, as someone who refuses to waste life on noise. Using these phrases isn't about being savage, it's about preserving your energy. Every time you refuse to argue with someone committed to misunderstanding you, you buy back a piece of your freedom. The world is full of people who are angry, lost, desperate to be heard. If you stop to wrestle with every one of them, you'll never reach your destination. Marcus Aurelius wrote that the best revenge is to be unlike the one who caused the harm. That's what you're doing here. You're not fighting fire with fire. You're staying cool enough to extinguish it. So, speak less, pause more, and when you do speak, let your words carry weight, not heat. Now, comment which phrase you'll use first. Are you okay? Anyway, you're allowed to think that. Did you mean to be that rude? Or, I'm not the audience for this. And if you want to train this mindset daily, subscribe to Stoic Spring,
because your life improves when you build the habit of protecting your inner peace and growing in maturity.